Like many FE colleges, our GCSE results were quite low.
A lot of the learners coming into us have always struggled with maths, found it really tough.
Yeah, I haven't always liked maths at all.
We knew we had to try and change things, and we had to try and do things differently.
We felt like we were probably repeating a lot of things that was done at school with the learners, and that was important to get away from that, because that obviously hasn't worked for them for the past 5 years. So we were really keen to just try something different.
We wanted to do something where we taught not all of the curriculum. The idea was that we could then go into more depth. I'd come across Diagnostic Questions, used it once or twice in lessons. I kept meaning to sort of think, actually, we could make really good use of this. We got back together and devised a plan to scrap using the initial assessment that the college used and have a pre and post test, and we would have 5 of those during the year. It was quite a challenge to convince senior managers, quality managers, MIS, because we were scrapping an initial assessment and replacing with 5 initial assessments during the year. So we had to convince them, and that took quite a bit of convincing of what the benefits of it were.
So within Diagnostic Questions, you can build your own tests, which is what we do. Say we've got a class that's more sport learner-led, we can choose the questions, we can search for the questions and make them more contextual for those sport learners, while still incorporating the maths that they need to know for the GCSE. Morning folks, so we've just finished our number unit. We're going to be moving on to algebra now. So we're going to use Diagnostic Questions this morning to do your algebra pre-test. Okay, remember there's no pressure, I just want to know what what knowledge you're bringing in with you. Okay, so go through your questions, give me a good reason for why you've given your answers. Your responses will be recorded on the board. Learners come into class at the beginning of a new topic. As a teacher, I assign the pre-test to them. They've all got their own login, and they log in and take the pre-test. They then set themselves smart targets for the unit based on the outcomes of that and the insights that Diagnostic Questions give them. And they know what they need to focus on within that unit for the next 8 weeks.
Within Diagnostic Questions, you have a multiple choice of A, B, C and D. If you've got to work out the area of a triangle, you've got 4 different answers. You'd have to click one of the answers at the bottom of it, and then if you've worked it out in a certain way, you'd have to just explain how you've worked it out.
That insight will tell you if they've got a right answer but a wrong working, it will show it. If they've got a wrong answer and what they're holding their misconception, you can see that as well. So you do know what they don't know as well as what they do know. One of the things that really attracted me was that the analytics from the Diagnostic Questions were instant. They were live in the classroom, so the students could see how the whole group had performed, they could see how they had performed, and as a curriculum leader, I could see how the whole cohort performed. So I could see where the whole college had weaknesses in certain topic areas, and we could focus that into a professional development session. So I could look at the analytics and look at a chart that showed the whole college for a particular teacher, for grade 3 students, or for 2 or grade 1 students, down to the individual classes and down to the individual student. And I could get that, and that was really powerful to me for planning, for my planning, the teacher's planning, and the students' own awareness of what they were doing.
I think the data is empowering to them when they get things wrong also, as it gives them that feedback and lets them know why they've got it wrong. With the explanations part of Diagnostic Questions, it's not just a right or wrong answer. There's a variety of explanations from lots of people, lots of different people that have answered that question in the past. Getting instant feedback really enthuses the learners. You know, after doing a mock exam or an in-class assessment, they may have to wait a week or 2 before they can get any feedback. When they do get the feedback, it's often just marks or ticks or crosses, whereas Diagnostic Questions gives them instant feedback, tells them the things that they got right and where they've gone wrong when they have gone wrong. Well done, guys. We've all finished. As you can see, you've done really well there. You've got 65% overall as a group. Having a look at those results then, question 3 and question 8, you all got those right. They were on sequences and function machines, so that's something that we won't cover this term. We might have a little touch on it just to refresh, but we don't need to look at that in depth because your knowledge is already there. Question 14 was one of your weaker questions. Let's have a look at this. Can I have a volunteer to come up to the board and explain to the group how we did that?
Right, so what I did was...
There isn't really a silver bullet because it's such a difficult job to raise achievement rates massively. The biggest impact we saw was students that maybe were staying at the same grade but had improved within that grade, and they knew they'd improved within that grade. But it wasn't just that technology that was fantastic. There were the results at the end of the first year improved in whichever measure we wanted to use. So if we use the progress measure, that went up, I think, from minus 0.39 to minus 0.31. So it was from a low starting point, but it improved. The biggest surprise, I guess, from it was the improvement in engagement and motivation from the students. They really took it on board as to why we were doing it.